A report is stating that Spurs could look to bring in Omar Marmoush in January, with the player not receiving regular game time at Manchester City. More news on the possible exit of Fabio Paratici as links with the return to Serie A continue. A report claims that Liverpool are closely monitoring Bergvall and keen to submit a £50 million plus move for the Tottenham midfielder. And a report claims that there should be question marks over the continued captaincy of Romero. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Okay, let's get into it. According to Team Talk, Tottenham Hotspur are exploring a potential move for Manchester City forward Omar Marmoush in the January transfer window, as their pursuit of Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo appears increasingly unlikely, and sources have explained the type of deal Spurs must put forward to stand a chance of succeeding. Spurs had identified Semenyo as a prime target, with the Ghanaian winger's superb form at Bournemouth highlighted by 8 goals and 3 assists in the Premier League so far, making him an ideal fit. However, Semenyo's £65 million release clause, active only from January 1st to January 10th, has sparked a fierce bidding war. Man United, Man City and Liverpool are all in the mix, and sources confirmed Tottenham's chances are slim, prompting Thomas Frank and technical director Johan Langer to pivot towards alternative options. Enter Marmoush, the 26-year-old Egyptian international who joined Manchester City from Eintracht Frankfurt in January 2025 for around £59 million, has found opportunities limited at the Etihad. Erling Haaland's dominance, coupled with competition from the likes of Savinho, Jeremy Doku, Bernardo Silva, Oscar Bob and Phil Foden, has restricted Marmoush to just 15 appearances this term, often in brief substitute roles. Indeed, the sum total of Marmoush's minutes in the Premier League this season is a paltry 206. Insiders claim that Tottenham are looking at the versatile attacker who can operate across the front line or on both wings. His pace, dribbling and goal-scoring prowess, with the latter showcased at former club Frankfurt, have swayed Spurs. Marmoush is currently away with Egypt at the Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, but his frustration over limited minutes may make him open up to a move. A loan deal with an option to buy could be Tottenham's only realistic hope of bringing City to the negotiating table. Spurs are also not the only side keen, and sources state that there are 3 Premier League sides monitoring him. Landing Marmoush is an ambitious undertaking, but Spurs in the post-Daniel Levy era are attempting to think bigger in the market. The Daily Mail report that Tottenham have not had an approach from Fiorentina despite strong claims linking in Italy with Fabio Paratici, and that he is poised to accept a 5-year deal from the Serie A club that's bottom of Serie A to become their director of football. Spurs stood by Paratici through the embarrassment of a worldwide football ban from FIFA for his part in financial scandal while at Juventus. Paratici was sidelined 2 years in his role at Spurs Stadium in April 2023 and served a 30-month ban that was initially handed out by the Italian Football Federation before it was extended worldwide by FIFA. The Italian remained a visible figure in the consultancy role in North London and was reappointed as sporting director in October, when the expiry of his ban freed him for a return to a formal role at the club. It would not look good for Venkatesham to lose Paratici 2 months later, and a serious blow to their transfer plans in the January market if their senior recruitment expert was to leave, with the transfer window about to open. Fiorentina cut adrift at the bottom of Serie A with only 6 points from their first 15 games at home to Udinese on Sunday. Their previous sporting director, Daniel Prada, departed the club by mutual consent last month. However, a late-night post on X by Italian journalist and transfer expert Fabio Romero paints a different picture. Romero claims that Tottenham sporting director Fabio Paratici is close to leaving the club as a deal with the Serie A side edges closer. Talking on X, Romero said Fiorentina are prepared to advance and seal the appointment of Fabio Paratici as new head of football. Formal steps needed with Spurs, but Fiorentina are confident as the agreement is getting closer. With Paratici now strongly linked to Fiorentina, Spurs could soon lose one of the most influential architects of their modern recruitment strategy. Team Talk state that a stunning report from Spanish outlet Fichajes claims that Tottenham are weighing up whether to cash in after Liverpool bid £52.5 million for Lucas Bergvall. Spurs beat Barcelona to the Swede's signature roughly 2 years ago, and while the 19-year-old isn't always a regular starter in North London, he's making giant strides forward and viewed as a bona fide star of the future. Fichajes state that Tottenham are considering the offer, which is described as unusual for a player of Bergvall's age. In other words, the report is suggesting that Spurs could cash in and secretly hope Bergvall doesn't end up living up to his promise at Anfield. The first thing to note regarding this story is the source. Fichajes are not known for being among the more reliable outlets when it comes to transfer news. While Liverpool may well have an admiration of Bergvall, they won't be alone in that regard, and signing a central midfielder is not understood to be a priority for Liverpool right now. Instead, the Reds' next two signings are expected to come at centre-back and on the wings. Mark Gay and Antoine Semenyo are Liverpool's top targets. Team Talk tasked transfer insider Fraser Fletcher with looking into whether there's any chance a Liverpool bid, if indeed one has been lodged, could be accepted by Spurs. The answer from sources, thankfully for Spurs fans, was unequivocal. Tottenham have no interest in selling Lucas Bergvall. The BBC report there are likely to be question marks over Cristian Romero's suitability as the club's captain after receiving yet another red card against Liverpool. The Argentine, who was appointed as Tottenham skipper by Thomas Frank in the summer after the departure of Heung-min Son to Los Angeles FC, has a checkered disciplinary record. In 114 Premier League appearances, the former Atalanta defender has collected 34 yellow cards and 3 red cards. Tottenham, alongside Bournemouth, have the most yellow cards in the top flight this season, with 42, and 21% of those 9 can be attributed to Romero. He also is one of the players given their marching orders when Spurs were reduced to 9 players in a league match against Chelsea in 2023. And the context of his second yellow card against the Reds left former Tottenham and Liverpool midfielder Jamie Redknapp bewildered. He said, "I think Hugo Ekitike's goal was a foul. I can't believe it's not given. A consequence of that is Cristian Romero runs after the referee and gets himself a yellow card, which has an impact at the end of the game," Redknapp said on Sky Sports. What Romero did is what Romero does, to get involved right in front of the referee and kick out at someone right in front of the referee. If my 4-year-old did that, I would say, "What are you doing?" Canate leaves a bit on Romero first, which is actually quite cute because he knows he's not going to get caught, but he, Romero, can't do that. It's ridiculous. And former Tottenham goalkeeper Joe Hart called some of Spurs' behaviour in the defeat wild. They put up a really good fight, but there was so much ill discipline, he told Match of the Day. You can't have that. You make it difficult for yourself. Javi Simmons has not gone out of his way to nail his fellow countrymen, but is something so dangerous to do, absolutely a red card. They are fighting and scrapping for their lives, but from the moment Romero got that yellow card, I felt another would come. Canate has just baited him, and it is right in front of John Brooks. He has to give him a second yellow card. They just totally lost control. Richarlison, after the game, still not giving up. It all looked a bit wild out there. Okay, here's my thoughts on all these stories today. Firstly, the Omar Marmoush one. I really wanted this player last January when Spurs were in for him, and even the summer before. I always thought that Omar Marmoush would be a perfect fit for Spurs, actually. We're not seeing too much of him at Manchester City, as stated. It's just the sheer quality that City have got at that end of the pitch. So if Spurs do want to progress this, I think there's probably a good chance of getting this deal done, whether that be a loan with an option to buy. Do City want to get rid of him completely? Obviously, we had this with Savinho as well in the last transfer window. the injury to Jeremy Doku at the moment, but I don't know when. I don't think Doku's going to be out for too much longer. I think he's due back in the beginning of January anyway. So, you know, Manchester City have got so many attackers, and you're not going to keep players like Omar Marmoush happy with just a few minutes here and there. So, is the player going to be looking to grab some minutes? It's a very interesting one. I think we could definitely get this deal done, but obviously he wouldn't be available straight away. So that wouldn't really help Spurs. It probably would in the long term, but it wouldn't help us throughout the first bit of January. But you know how slow Spurs move with transfer windows anyway. So is it likely to matter? I don't know. But coming back to the player himself, I just think Marmoush is a great player, incredibly fast as well, tricky player, knows where the back of the net is, and of course we've been crying out for somebody like that. So I wouldn't be opposed to this move. Loan with an option to wait. It would have to be longer than 6 months. Perhaps they could do, I don't know, a year and a half or something like that. But it's got to be worthwhile for both parties, right? So let's see how that one goes. But yeah, I'd be very excited to get Marmoush in. Fabio Paratici leaving. I think this would be a right kick in the stomach for Tottenham if we lost Paratici. Now, a lot of people don't think that Paratici is the Messiah, like I think Alistair Gold referred to him as that, and he doesn't agree with that either. Look, Fabio Paratici has had definitely some failed transfers. I mean, the biggest one probably was Nuno actually coming in, and he recommended him and he touted him, and we all know Nuno was an abject failure at Tottenham. But I would say in balance on the whole, I think Paratici's signings, I've liked a majority of them. Yes, some of them you get wrong. You can't get them all right in that job, sadly. But I just think with these contacts, I wouldn't want to lose Paratici. However, having two sporting directors, I was never quite sure how that was going to work with Johan Langer there as well. So probably the reason I like Paratici a bit more is a bit more comes out from him. You generally know, he's got about 10 plates spinning at once, and we get to hear a bit more information. With Langer, you don't hear anything until the signing's holding up the shirt, more or less, sometimes. So on the whole, I would prefer we kept hold of Paratici, but if a big money move for him is happening back to his home country, perhaps he wants to go home, simple as that. So let's see how that one plays out. But get down in the comments, let me know, would you be gutted if we lost Paratici? The Lucas Bergvall exit is stated in the story. I nearly didn't put this in, but it's out there. Lucas Bergvall, there's no way, in my opinion, we're going to let Bergvall go unless a absolutely ridiculous big money offer came in, 100 million plus, which is incredibly unlikely, of course. This is the sort of player we need to be holding on to. I'm not quite sure why Bergvall doesn't get the amount of minutes under Thomas Frank. I think he should. But yeah, certainly one for the future. Bergvall, still such a young player. We've all seen what he can do, so he's the sort of player we need to be building the team around and keeping hold of. Should Romero be stripped of the captaincy? I'll probably leave this one to you guys, really. I want to see my captain being aggressive and I've always said leading by example, just snapping into a tackle really gets the team going. So Romero does really get his teammates, going, I suppose. But I would like to see a bit more. The amount of cards Romero's been getting, he can't keep doing that. We're going to lose him now again. We need him on the pitch, and that ill discipline, just something, he crosses that line sometimes. I suppose you're going to get that with these players. Certain players like that, you're going to get it every now and then, but he needs to really clamp down on that because we need him on the pitch. It's as simple as that. But let me know what your thoughts are on Romero's captaincy. And finally, thoughts on the Liverpool game. We did cover it in the fan show, which we recorded yesterday on Sunday, so go and watch that. It's quite a long one, I'm not going to lie, but there's a lot of thoughts in that. I thought we were unlucky in periods. I didn't think the first half was particularly good, but I thought we actually looked better with 10 and then eventually 9 men on the pitch. And that wasn't Liverpool, in my opinion, just sitting back. That was Spurs actually going at them. So it just goes to show when the shackles come off and when the handbrake comes off, Spurs can attack and can put teams to the sword. But we just don't do it enough for me. We just don't do it enough. Thomas Frank needs to let them just go at teams sometimes because we proved in that Liverpool game at the end we could have nicked a draw, but we didn't ultimately, and it was another defeat. But that's all from me today. Get down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts right now how you're feeling as a Spurs fan and about all the subjects in this video. And as always, come on you Spurs.